Ben went to your apartment this weekend to speak with you, but you weren't there.
This is where the entity is aiming light activity and it's piercing into the depths of the apartment. You can see the concentrated light activity. This is absolutely impossible. It's 5 p.m. where the entity is keeping the light source directly in alignment with the hotel room at Hesperia at 9750 key point, where the entity is engaged in a documented sunrise as well. So that's speaking to the same pattern of conduct at Hesperia's Holiday Inn, which is already in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct. Of course, at 5 p.m., the light source, which is nowhere near Ontario, in alignment with the Hesperia hotel room in 308 facing the Motel 6 at 5 p.m., in alignment with this apartment complex, Woodside Senior Apartments, where the light source is right over my head while I'm facing this direction at the front door. It's 5 p.m. right now. It's 5:03 p.m. and there is no light source. That would be the sun, the natural environment that would be in alignment with my leasing office as I'm walking out at 5 p.m. Capturing the light source that's directly over building 1802, creating the shadow of that palm tree that's above building 1802. It's flat on the roof. This is not in alignment with that, nor is the sunlight. This is engineer light that's appearing from a distance away from the window, and it is engineered light for purposes of monitoring. This is the engineered light that's also not the product of sunlight. It also wouldn't be the sun that would be 5 hours later at the same property. And of course, as I've stated, it's not going to be an alignment to me while I'm on the roads and the highways in Nevada, which I documented during this time where I'm documenting the entity, the Harry Reid airport stalking using commercial planes, while the fake sun's in alignment with my windshield, my vehicle, which is far from the apartment complex at Alvarado Gardens where I was living and working, in alignment with my hotel room at Hesperia, and now in alignment with the apartment of Woodside Senior Apartments. The entity is engaged in the ongoing amplified audible activity. The methods include stalking by helicopter, which I've documented, stalking by Ontario International Airport commercial airline planes, which I've documented. Those are government actors, by the way. And then the use of the Union Pacific train, which Metrolink is using, a documented group stalker. Union Pacific itself, a documented group stalker, a terrorist, and the people of the state that are engaged in ongoing methods of amplification. And in the parking lot, the demons who I've captured the license plates, they're in relevant position. They're stalking in alignment while the entity is group stalking as an entity. Unit 55, directly engaged in the pattern of conduct, living at a crime scene where impossible light activity fills the apartment. The ongoing audible activity that is amplified inside of this apartment that's the fulfillment of the elements of monitoring. Light activity, relevant positioning, in concert with the population that's using plane, helicopter, train, amplification of all manner of noise inside an environment where the sun cannot possibly be present at any time of day, let alone for the duration of time that I've captured even today, in conformity to a pattern of conduct nonetheless. Where the light source is here, there cannot possibly be any sun, which the Los Angeles Police Department would like to contend is the natural environment and that they're not demons, regardless of the fact that they are captured engaged in stalking using helicopters. There's no avoiding that stalking conduct. I'm showing the fact that not only they're stalking, they're engaged in state surveillance, which is group stalking, and group stalking is demonic. All right, and this is demonic light activity. This is what Mike Lorenz is fully engaged in, cognizant about what the demons of the Ontario Police Department are engaging in. This is a sex offense, monitoring somebody inside of what is a private space. I want to be clear, this is a facilitating venue. But while I'm inside of the bathroom, inside of a facilitating venue, that's a private space. Okay, while I am in a hotel room, that's a private space where there's no sunlight that's going to appear in alignment to the window, where the entity would like to suggest that this is the sun and that none of these people are demon possessed and they're all just living their lives. There's no specific environment. That's the sun. That would be at the same apartment complex as a matter of documentation, 9 a.m. until after 5 p.m., but also over the Hesperia Holiday Inn. Somehow it's impossible. There is no way that that's happening. And the fact that the entity is engaging in what is not criminal activity, that is shown through what is the demonic environment and the demonic maintenance of elements of monitoring, the noise creation and the light activity, which is clearly demonic and unnatural, a scientific impossibility, while the government itself is acting in sync with the population who's maintaining these elements of monitoring. That's how you're understanding the greater picture, that the population is engaging in keeping you under surveillance, and it's absolutely the work of Satan. All right, so you're looking at all the iterations of light activity. All right, that's not going to be created while the light source is through the window of the Holiday Inn, where I'm looking at Motel 6, which is exactly what I captured at 5 p.m. The light source is in alignment to me. The entity's keeping a fake sun while I'm in the window, showing you the juxtaposing it with my presence and while the entity's keeping the fake sun over me, and during the 5 p.m. hour, and the entity arrived in San Diego County under that fake sun in alignment with my hotel room at Fairfield by Marriott in San Diego, and the entity arrived in helicopter pursuant to the pattern of conduct. Again, this is terrorism that Unit 55 is satisfying. That's a sex offense while I remain inside of what is a third-party facilitating venue, and then this is massive light activity. All right, and you're looking at what is the remaining impossible light activity during daytime and nightfall. It has nothing to do with the light source. That's not sunlight. This is another hue, another level of concentration of equally impossible light activity that's coming from the window. The blinds are closed. There's no position of the sun that would ever result in that. You're looking at the demonic. It's the evidence that Unit 55, for example, is a demon who's engaged in state surveillance, that knows what I'm doing and saying inside of this apartment. Union Pacific is a domestic terrorist. The Ontario Police Department is a domestic terrorist. The Ontario International Airport is a domestic terrorist. Those are all means of amplified audible activity. And by the way, at Euclid Avenue and what is Euclid and Holt Boulevard, you can't hear the train. When Metrolink is having their train stops and you're taking off on the train, which I've been on the Amtrak train, riding on the train, it's not something that's causing your ears to bleed. And in the same way, you're not violating the zoning, disrupting the entirety of the neighborhood. Understand how far Woodside Senior Apartments is from the train tracks. I've slept at that museum. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with audible activity while I'm at this great distance. But using that means, a public means, if you will, of engaging in the elements of monitoring is letting you know that the whole public is group stalking. What the demons do, the demons tell on each other. And by the way, it's entirely impossible, audibly speaking, that you're going to hear the train inside of an apartment. All right. It is currently 5:08 p.m. Just going very quickly through what are the elements of monitoring. It's highly demonic. Speaking to a sex offense committed by the government who knows what you're doing and engages in the elements of monitoring using helicopters, trains, and planes, and the very population. And that's what Unit 55 is acting in sync with, not only the population, but the population, as I'm showing you license plates of third parties, that's relevant positioning. Demons stalking in the path with light. Mental illness manifest. Those are demons that are waiting to engage in methods of light activity while the fake sun is arriving. By arriving, I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's being shown and covered up and shown and covered up. That's massive light activity. It's analogous to doing this. Turning the light on and off. That's what the entity is doing with the fake sun. It's called light activity. It's P.O.C. It's currently 5:09 p.m.